Learning a new language can be one of the most exciting yet frustrating experiences. Take John Smith, a guy from New York, who decided to learn Mandarin Chinese because he wanted to impress his colleagues during a business trip to Beijing. Fast forward to his first lesson, and John quickly realized the challenge. Not only did Mandarin have 4 tones, but the characters were nothing like the alphabet he had been using his entire life. His brain was doing somersaults, trying to keep track of different sounds and symbols. Why isn't this just like Spanish, he wondered, where vowels are consistent and words mostly sound how they are spelled? But his journey to master Mandarin wasn't going to be a quick fix. It was more like a marathon, not a sprint. Some languages, like German or French, may feel easier for English speakers, but others can be an uphill battle. Why is that? Well, there are several reasons, and some of them are more hilarious than you'd think. The alphabet battle. Letters that look the same but aren't. Imagine you're learning a new language, say Russian, and you're staring at the alphabet like it's a cryptic code. The letters B and C look familiar, but they sound completely different. John Smith thought he had it all figured out when he saw the letter B, only to find out that in Russian, it's pronounced like the English V. He felt like he was playing a game of spot the difference with every word. Similarly, Greek has some letters that look identical to the English alphabet, but have entirely different sounds. John's brain was in overdrive, trying to make sense of letters that kept playing hide and seek. It felt like he was solving a puzzle that didn't come with a solution guide. This struggle with seemingly familiar letters is a common language learner dilemma. Some languages may use a script that looks deceptively similar to English, but then throw in a curveball. So, while you might think you're reading Latin, you could be decoding something much more complex. This battle with the alphabet is just the first hurdle in the quest to understand foreign languages. Pronunciation problems. Why does my tongue feel confused? John Smith was ready to conquer French, with dreams of sipping espresso at a sidewalk cafe in Paris. But there was one problem: pronunciation. He stared in horror at words like siècle, century, and beaucoup a lot, thinking, how on earth do you make those sounds with your mouth? In English, words are pretty straightforward, but French, with its nasal vowels, silent letters, and R sounds that vibrate in the back of your throat, was like a workout for his tongue. Then there was Mandarin Chinese, where tones completely flipped the script. John thought he was saying ma, mother, in a lovely tone, but the Chinese speaker kept looking at him like he had a frog in his throat. Turns out tone changes can transform words completely, and something as simple as the rise or fall of your voice can change the meaning entirely. John laughed at himself as he realized that speaking a new language felt more like learning to play a musical instrument than just speaking. Some days, he felt like he needed a personal tongue coach to train him out of these pronunciation mishaps. In the end, pronunciation challenges aren't just embarrassing, they're part of the fun. Every misstep became a learning opportunity, even if it meant John's colleagues in Beijing occasionally asked him to repeat himself 3 times. The tone game. Can you hear the difference? John Smith thought he had a handle on pronunciation until he stepped into the world of Mandarin Chinese, where he quickly realized that tones could make or break his communication. Mandarin has 4 main tones, and each one can drastically change the meaning of a word. For instance, the word ma could mean mother, hemp, horse, or scold, depending on whether the tone is high, rising, falling, or flat. On his first day in Beijing, John confidently greeted a local by saying "may," thinking he was saying hello, only to be met with confused stares. It turned out he was accidentally calling someone a horse. How did he get from hello to horse? Simple, he used the wrong tone. It's like trying to sing a note and accidentally hitting a completely different key. As John tried to practice, he found himself sounding more like a confused opera singer than a fluent speaker. But the tone game wasn't just frustrating, it was funny too. John found himself in several hilarious situations, from accidentally complimenting someone's scold instead of their mother to ordering a hemp salad instead of a shrimp one at a restaurant. But each mistake was a reminder that languages are like puzzles, and tones were just another piece of the challenge. So John had to take a deep breath embrace the awkward moments, and accept that tones would always keep him on his toes, literally. Gendered nouns. What do you mean a chair is masculine? In English, things are simple. A chair is just a chair. But in Spanish, John Smith soon learned that the word for chair, silla, is feminine, while table, mesa, is also feminine. And don't even get him started on German, where everything from a door to a car has a gender. John had to constantly remind himself that der Tisch, the table, was masculine, and die Lamp, the lamp, was feminine. If you think gender is complicated in real life, try making sense of it in languages. He was baffled by how an inanimate object could be either masculine or feminine, and how this could change the article you use, too. Imagine John's surprise when he learned that even objects like books or chairs in languages like French had a gender assigned to them. It was as if the language had a secret personality all its own. In French, you wouldn't just say, "I like the book." You'd say Jane le livre if it's masculine and Jane le chaise if it's feminine. The article changes, but for John, it felt like he was playing a game of grammatical guessing. John laughed at himself when he mistook le livre for a feminine word and tried to match a chair with a gender he wasn't prepared for. The whole experience made him feel like he was studying gender roles in an alternate universe, and he wondered if chairs had their own personalities too. But like every weird rule in language learning, gendered nouns became just another quirky challenge that added to the fun and confusion of his journey. Sentence structure snaffus. Wait, where does this word go again? In English, John Smith was used to a straightforward sentence structure. Subject, verb, object. I eat pizza. Simple, right? But then he decided to dive into Japanese, and his world was turned upside down. In Japanese, it's not SVO, it's SOV, subject, object, verb. I pizza eat didn't exactly roll off the tongue, and John had to wrap his head around how this small change could completely shift his thinking. John struggled at first, finding himself putting verbs in all the wrong places. For instance, he wanted to say, "I went to the store," but in Japanese, he had to say, "I stored went." It felt like a puzzle where the pieces kept moving around. The confusion didn't stop there. He soon realized that German also had a twist, with sentences often ending in the verb, especially in questions and subordinate clauses. So instead of saying, "Where are you going?" he found himself blurting out, "Where going are you?" Every time John thought he had mastered a sentence structure, another language would come along and mess with his mind. But these mistakes, although frustrating, were a constant reminder that language rules are not always intuitive. It was like playing a game of musical chairs, except the chairs kept rearranging themselves every time John sat down. In the end, sentence structure snaffus were just another funny and humbling part of John's adventure in learning new languages. But with every mix-up, he came one step closer to understanding just how different and wonderfully strange languages could be. Learning a new language is never easy, but it's always an adventure. From confusing alphabets to tricky tones, every mistake is a step toward fluency. John may have struggled, but each challenge made him laugh, learn, and improve. The journey isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. So, whether you're battling grammar rules or mispronouncing words, keep going. Every word you learn brings you closer to a whole new world.